From Lagos, the nation's commercial capital, this is the news at 10. Live from Channels Television. Reporting tonight, Ayotunde Balogun. Hello and welcome. Tonight, President Tinubu visits Benue, directs service chiefs and Inspector General of Police Kayode Egbetokun to apprehend perpetrators of recent killings. DSS witness tells Federal High Court that IPOB and ESN activities led to the deaths of nearly 200 operatives. Minister of Finance Wale Edun hints President Tinubu could assent to new tax bills within 2 weeks. And Iran's supreme leader threatens irreparable harm if U.S. intervenes militarily in Tehran-Israel conflict.
And on business, federal, state and local governments share 1.659 trillion naira as main revenue allocation.
On sports news tonight, Manchester City begins their campaign at the FIFA Club World Cup with a comfortable 2-0 win against Wydad Casablanca in Philadelphia.
And from the nation's capital, Senate Committee on Public Accounts raises alarm over discrepancies involving trillions of naira in the audited financial statements of the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited.
It's now time to act, as the President has mandated the service chiefs and the Inspector General of Police, Kayode Egbetokun, to pursue those behind the dastardly killings in Benue State, which have left scores of people dead and many others severely injured. President Bola Tinubu issued the order today during his visit to Benue following the renewed attacks in the north-central state. Speaking at the town hall meeting with stakeholders, the President questioned the Inspector General of Police over the absence of arrests days after the massacre, insisting that he expects culprits to be apprehended.
The President showed aircraft bearing President Bola Ahmed Tinubu touches down at the Tactical Air Command Airport in Makurdi. At exactly 1:05 p.m., a visit driven by grief, urgency, and a firm demand for justice in the wake of Yelwata killings. President Tinubu was received by the Benue State Governor Hyacinth Alia, alongside a delegation of governors and senior officials. The President then proceeds to the Benue State University Teaching Hospital, where he visits victims of last Saturday's brutal attack on Yelwata.
Some of them took 4 units of blood, 6 units, and multiple units. So if you have started at 4 points, it means that we also have serious problems because you have to join the intestines at those points.
He offers words of sympathy and solidarity to the injured, many of whom are battling life-threatening wounds. Elsewhere in Makurdi, the new banquet hall of the Benue State Government House is packed to capacity. Dignitaries present include traditional rulers, led by the Tor Tiv, service chiefs, federal and state lawmakers, as well as APC national chairman and key cabinet ministers. President Tinubu enters the hall alongside Governor Hyacinth Alia as the high-level stakeholders meeting begins. Opening the conversation on the tragic killings in Benue State, the Torativ delivers a solemn appeal to President Tinubu.
What we are dealing with in Benue is a calculated, well-planned, full-scale genocidal invasion and land-grabbing campaign by header terrorists and bandits, which has been on for decades and is worsening every year. Wrong diagnosis will always lead to wrong treatment. So we are dealing with something far more sinister than we think about. It's not learning to live with your neighbors. It is dealing with a war. We appeal to you to end the genocide going on in Benue State and the insecurity in all parts of Nigeria. We know you are capable of doing it, sir.
If not, we'd say this more than this.
Governor Alia then mounts the podium with an appeal to the federal government to establish state police and an intervention fund following the fresh wave of killings in the north-central state.
While we continue to mourn our losses and rebuild from the ashes of pain, we humbly urge the federal government to consider establishing a special intervention fund for communities affected by these incessant attacks in Benue State. Such a fund would go a long way in supporting the rehabilitation of the displaced persons, rebuilding of destroyed infrastructure, and restoring the livelihoods of our farmers and families whose lives have been upended.
President, Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Having listened attentively to the voices in the room, President Tinubu turned his focus to the nation's security chiefs and the Inspector General of Police, issuing firm directives, posing pointed questions, and demanding swift accountability.
I give you the assurance that we will find peace. We will convert this tragedy to prosperity. Again and again, police, I hope your men are on alert to listen to information. How come no arrest has been made? I expect there should be arrests of those criminals. Christopher, thank you very much. I watch your comments, and we need to keep our ears to the ground. Let's get to those criminals. Let's get them out.
As the dust settles in Makurdi, President Tinubu's visit leaves behind not just words, but weighty expectations for action, for justice, and for healing.
Now, President Tinubu may have issued firm directives on resolving the violence in Benue, but the youth of both the Middle Belt Forum and Pan-Niger Delta Forum, PANDEF, are demanding urgent security reforms and quick intervention of the president to address the incessant killings in the north-central state and the entire Middle Belt. The groups, in a joint press conference held in Jos, the Plateau State capital, warned that the killings, if left unchecked, poses existential threat not only to the Middle Belt, but also to the southern region, particularly the Niger Delta, where the consequences of inaction will be catastrophic.
Members of the Middle Belt Youth Forum and the Pan-Niger Delta Youth Forum are addressing this press conference on the state of insecurity in Nigeria's north-central region. The groups are calling for a reform and rejigging of the security architecture to address the devastation.
We demand decisive action from the government, not hollow condemnation. Government must examine the root causes of violence against our people. We will follow legal means. We will listen to the government. If they fail, the combination, the coming together of these different regions together shows very well that, yes, we are up to something. We are not going to take the law into our hands, but we will do the needful to protect our people, to protect our land.
The groups are also calling for increased and urgent humanitarian assistance for affected communities.
They are not giving me the true picture. All is not well for the Middle Belt. with what we've seen. Since yesterday we came, we are in sober reflection. We also beg our mother, if you want to please, and also give a marching order to NEMA to bring relief materials to those persons that are affected. They are gone, their houses have been destroyed. Must we continue to have IDP centers in the Middle Belt?
No.
Must we continue to have IDP centers in the Middle Belt?
No.
Must they continue to chase them out of their ancestral home?
No.
We will not accept it.
At all.
So please, we are telling them, Mr. President, who is the father of this country, to do things. Because if he failed to do that, we are begging him. We don't want a situation whereby we, the South-South region, the Middle East, the Southwest, and the South-South, and the Southeast, we mobilize and do the needful to help our people.
The youth leaders are committing to non-violent resistance while pledging to support efforts by security agencies to ensure the safety of Nigerians.
In Enugu State, Governor Peter Mba has described the recent trending videos on social media about an attack in Agwemede in Isuzo local government area as fake and a propaganda by falsehood peddlers. He made this known when he received the Assistant Inspector General of Police in charge of Zone 13, AIG Abayomi Oladipo, at the Government House, Enugu. Governor Mba, who maintained that Enugu is the safest state in Nigeria, explained that the videos do not represent recent events in the state, while some are from the past. He then reassured citizens that his administration will do everything within its power to ensure security of lives and property in Enugu State. Speaking earlier, AIG Oladipo, who said he had received security briefings from the Commissioner of Police, rolled out modalities for synergy in fighting crime.
I've seen some images recently of things that never happened here, but you see them being peddled as though they were they happened here. So if we discount those falsehood narratives, those fake narratives that we hear from the social media, and deal with the reality, Enugu, as I mentioned, is unarguably the safest city in this country. And we're not going to rest on our horse. We're not going to rest on our laurels. We have the CP and his men that are alive to their responsibility and their duty. We do not have any tolerance for insecurity here. And so we are going to continue to work with the force. We're going to continue to work with the police to ensure that we sustain this security that we're enjoying in the state today.
I have received briefings from the two CP commands, and we have worked out modalities for synergy between the two states in tackling the current situation we have in our hands. And I can tell you, sir, that what we have in place is really working out for us. Essentially, I've come to thank you, sir, for the support and the cooperation you are extending to the police, and in fact, all other mainstream security agencies in the state.
The Nigeria Police, in partnership with the Nigerian Financial Intelligence Unit, the NFIU, and the Rule of Law and Anti-Corruption Program, has formally flagged off a 3-day capacity-building workshop for frontline officers and prosecutors. Speaking at the event in Abuja, the Inspector General of Police, who was represented by the Deputy Inspector General of Police in charge of training and development, Mr. Frank Mba, underscored the significance of the training, particularly at a time when Nigeria is listed on the Financial Action Task Force grey list. The IGP, who acknowledged the government's legislative and institutional responses to financial crimes, including the enactment of the Money Laundering Prohibition Act 2022 and the Terrorism Prevention Act 2022, however, stressed that enforcement is the critical element of effectiveness. In part 2, after the break, Minister of Finance Wale Edun hints President Bola Tinubu could assent to new tax bills within 2 weeks. Please stay with us. Welcome back. If you have just joined us, you're watching the news at 10 on Channels Television, broadcasting live from Lagos. A reminder of our top stories. President Bola Tinubu visits Benue, directs service chiefs and the IGP Kayode Egbetokun to apprehend perpetrators of recent killings. DSS witness tells Federal High Court that IPOB and ESN activities led to the deaths of nearly 200 operatives. Minister of Finance Wale Edun hints President Tinubu could assent to new tax bills within 2 weeks. And Iran's supreme leader threatens irreparable harm if U.S. intervenes militarily in Tehran-Israel conflict. To the courts. The Department of State Services has informed the Federal High Court Abuja that between 170 and 200 security agents in the southeast lost their lives due to the activities of the indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, and the Eastern Security Network, ESN. The fourth witness of the prosecution team stated this at the resumed trial of the IPOB leader, Mr. Nnamdi Kanu. The witness also informed the court that the National Broadcasting Commission, the NBC, did not issue a license to Nnamdi Kanu to import the radio transmitter he allegedly smuggled into the country to operate Radio Biafra. Our correspondent, Emanuela Ekele, reports.
The trial of the leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, Mr. Nnamdi Kanu, continues at the Federal High Court Abuja with the testimony of the fourth prosecution witness. Led in evidence by the prosecuting lawyer, Mr. Adegboyega Womolo, the witness told the court that shortly after officials of the Department of State Services recovered a transmitter from a premises in Anambra State, the equipment was delivered to the National Broadcasting Commission for inspection. Quoting the report, the witness explains that the transmitter is German-made and is made for use on FM frequency. The witness states that the report also stated that the transmitter can only be procured and installed after being issued a license, which the NBC did not license for Radio Biafra to broadcast in Nigeria. He also said that investigation confirmed that the defendant is the owner of the transmitter, which he kept in the premises of one Benjamin Madubugu. The witness also testified that a member of the Eastern Security Network, who he identified as Uzoma Benjamin, spoke about how they allegedly received directives from Kanu to kill security agents and ensure that a deceased member of the group, known as Ikonso, was buried with 2,000 human heads, adding that only 30 heads were buried. He also gave details of how the late former aide to ex-President Goodluck Jonathan, Mr. Ahmed Goodluck, was killed in Owerri, Imo State. He said the investigation revealed that the invasion of Owerri prison by IPOB members was directed by Mr. Kanu in one of his broadcasts for his followers to attack and kill security operatives of the federal government of Nigeria. The witness adds that there are records about the number of security agents allegedly killed in the southeast and that the number stands between 170 and 200. Under cross-examination by defense lawyer Mr. Onyechik Peazu, the witness said that there is no record of the importation of the transmitter, said to have been smuggled into the country by Kanu. When asked if he's aware that Radio Biafra was registered in London and broadcast from there, the witness said that when Kanu was arrested in Lagos in 2016, he was arrested with his broadcast equipment. The witness asked that he's not aware that the Imo State government issued a statement to the effect that Goodluck's death was political. At the end of the cross-examination, the trial judge, Justice James Omotosho, adjourned further hearing till Thursday, June 19, 2025, for the prosecution to call its fifth witness. Emanuela Ekele, Channels Television News.
President Bola Tinubu will assent to the recently passed tax bill over the next 2 weeks. That's coming from the Minister of Finance, Mr. Wale Edun. Mr. Edun made the remark at the policy lecture organized by the Presidential Fiscal Policy and Tax Reforms Committee in Abuja. The minister explains that the tax bills will bring to the nation's system fairness, clarity, and ease of tax administration with a view to the provision of better services for Nigerians.
The lecture is bringing together government officials, finance experts, members of the academia, and development partners to reflect on the federal government's policies and how to make it work better. The event is part of activities to celebrate the 50th birthday of the chairman of the Presidential Committee on Fiscal and Tax Reforms, Mr. Taiwo Oyedele, who delivered the keynote address. First, he notes the need for tax reform.
Simplifying and rationalizing taxes so there are not too many. Addressing distortions created by the various incentive regime that we have and lack of clarity, and providing a level playing field.
He then lists some of the benefits of overhauling the nation's tax base, as well as other critical reforms to improve the livelihood of Nigerians.
We must address regulatory overreach, embrace digitalization, particularly in government services, refine our tariff system to reduce the rates on raw materials and intermediate products, which currently are twice the average for sub-Saharan Africa.
Please welcome him to the panel.
Next is a plenary session. Speakers bear their minds on the federal government's policies and the need for better coordination.
I'm an advocate for being bold and being strategic. So the strategic aspect of being bold is the fact that is where you have a synergy that would enable you mitigate the pushback you will get within a bold and visionary idea.
The International Monetary Fund believes the need for more revenue collection is long overdue.
If there is something you have to remember from the IMF position, is to raise revenue and spend on Nigerians. So any fiscal effort that is being done has to come back very quickly into spending on those productive sectors.
The Minister of Finance agrees with the IMF and announces the plan by the President to assent to the bill.
And that's why we have today success in terms of a proposal for proposed bills that are now ready for Mr. President to sign into law. And what will they give? They will give greater fairness. They will give clarity. They will give ease of administration, best practice around the world. And ultimately, and not least of all, they will give more revenue for government.
Globally, accelerated revenue generation and improved policies remain critical to national development, and the federal government plans to leverage on this. Sarah Chimugu, Channels Television News.
It's time now we head to the nation's capital, and Gloria Umezoke is standing by to give us the latest from our Abuja studios. Hello, Gloria.
Thank you, Ayo. We begin here in the National Assembly, where the Senate Committee on Public Accounts, chaired by Senator Aliyu Wadada, has raised serious alarm over discrepancies involving trillions of naira in the audited financial statements of the Nigeria National Petroleum Company Limited, NNPC, describing the revelations as mind-boggling and worrisome. During the investigative session today, where the Chief Financial Officer, Mr. Dapo Shegun, appeared before the committee, the absence of detailed records justifying massive legal and auditing fees was flagged, as well as contradictions in receivables reportedly worth over 210 trillion naira between 2017 and 2023. The committee underscored that the concerns stem directly from the analysis of NNPC's audited financial statements spanning 2017 to 2023, not from speculation. The committee has now handed over a list of 11 queries to NNPCL's finance team and given them 1 week to return with answers.
They said accrued expenses figure was and is still, since that is what is contained in the statement, 103 trillion naira. And what make up accrued expenses are: 1, retention fees, legal fees, and auditor's fees. Just this afternoon, before the commencement of the exercise, NNPC brought a new document, a document to the committee that is completely independent of what is contained in the audited financial statement and with items that contradict the items contained in the audited financial statement. This is found very ridiculous, very unacceptable by the committee, but being it as it may, you have listened to all that transpired and the questions are now handed over to them. It is important for the public to know each of these questions emanated as a result of what we discovered from the audited financial statement of NNPC from 2017 to 2023. Accrued expenses and then receivables, we are talking over 210 trillion naira. For us, as representatives of the people, we will do the best we can. I know for a fact that this will not just go down the drain.
Still ahead on the news at 10, federal, states and local governments share 1,659 trillion naira as May revenue allocation. But that's in business news. Please join us again. Welcome back. You're still watching the news at 10, coming to you live on Channels Television. Now, the Nigeria Governors Forum is holding an emergency meeting at her secretariat in Abuja. The meeting has in attendance governors and some deputy governors from the 36 states. Although the meeting agenda is not yet made known, the presence of the National Security Advisor and the Minister of Defense here suggests strongly that security issues will be central to their discussions. We bring you updates as the developing stories come in. To the Green Chamber, and a member of the House of Representatives from Rivers State, Dumna Mene Dekor, is appealing to the president to honor other matters of Ogoni land, such as the Ogoni 4. The lawmaker believes that this will deepen reconciliation and promote lasting peace in the region. Representative Dekor is also appealing to the president to enforce the original east-west road design in Ogoni land, which is a major road connecting the Port Harcourt refinery. We're speaking to journalists in Abuja.
We also appeal most graciously that Mr. President, in ensuring that there is permanent peace, which he seeks and which all of us seek today, to also recognize the Ogoni 4. The likes of Albert Badi, the Orages, the late Chief Ian Kobani. If that is done, I strongly believe that the issues of the troubles in Ogoni land would have been permanently addressed. On the road, Mr. President will further appeal the Ministry of Works, Federal Ministry of Works, of the opinion that 2 of the 3 flyovers should be discontinued, even after piling has been done. And those are at major road junctions. When I mean refinery junction, I mean Port Harcourt refinery junction. So you can imagine the kind of traffic, heavy trucks and all kinds of traffic.
Well, that's it from the nation's capital. It's back to you, Ayo, for more on the news at 10.
Thanks, Gloria. Now, a reminder on our main story, where the Nigeria Governors Forum is holding an emergency meeting at her secretariat in Abuja, the nation's capital. Well, the meeting has in attendance governors and some deputy governors from the 36 states of the Federation. Although the meeting agenda is not made known yet, the presence of the National Security Advisor, the NSA, and the Minister of Defense here suggests strongly that security issues will be central to their discussions. And we'll hope to bring you updates on this developing story as we get them. The Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, the EFCC, has applauded the leadership of the Niger Delta Development Commission, the NDDC, for setting a new benchmark in public accountability. EFCC Chairman Ola Olukoyede says the current NDDC board is rewriting the narrative of the agency through transparency, prudent spending, and responsible governance. He made the remarks at the inauguration of the 2 signature projects in Bayelsa State, part of the NDDC's renewed drive to deliver meaningful development across the region.
Bayelsa State plays host to another milestone in the Niger Delta Development Commission's ongoing rollout of completed projects. On the day's slate, the unveiling of the Renewed Hope Multipurpose Training Center in Otukotu, Ogba local government area, and the official opening of the new NDDC Bayelsa State office in Yenagua. More than just a training center, the facility is a multifunctional hub. The managing director of the NDDC, Samuel Ogboko, reveals that the project was funded through monies recovered by the EFCC, a strong signal of restitution delivering real development.
When the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission called us that yes, they had recovered funds from IOC's non-remittance for the NDDC, we sat down with the Economic and Financial Crime Commission under this renewed hope agenda, trying to do things differently. And they asked us, they want to know what we want to do with this money, because they don't want a situation whereby these funds will be relooted.
The Minister of Niger Delta Development, Abubakar Momo, praises the leadership stability at the NDDC and commends President Bola Tinubu's support for continuity and reform.
Niger Delta is very lucky this time around that at the end of affair, we have a man who listens to us. Each time I see Mr. President, all he will say is, how is Niger Delta? I say, Your Excellency, sir, Niger Delta is working.
The EFCC chairman, who led the commissioning, admits his initial skepticism about engaging with the NDDC due to its tainted past.
When I see someone talks about institutional and policy reforms, passionately, I mean, you could see that this man was not talking out of the fact that he just wanted to talk. He knew what exactly he was going to do. And I told my management team, we need to work with this guy. He knows what he's doing.
At the commissioning of the new Bayelsa State office, named in honor of former Rivers State Governor Melford Okilo, Governor Doye Diri lauded the NDDC for reshaping Yenagua's skyline. He emphasized his administration's commitment to non-partisan, people-focused development.
Politics should not divide us and tear us apart. Politics should be an avenue to attract development to Bayelsa State. And each and every one of us, wherever we find ourselves, think of what you will attract to this state.
To the glory of God and the benefit of mankind and the staff and the people of NDDC and Bayelsa State.
With the ceremonial ribbon cut, the NDDC Bayelsa office is now open, the symbol of what is possible when accountability meets action. Looking ahead, more EFCC recovered funds are expected to be released to the NDDC, a move the EFCC chair says reflects the Commission's confidence in the current leadership and its commitment to transformative development.
It's now time for some business news with Will Ibom. Will?
Thank you, Ayotunde. And the federal government, states and local government councils have shared 1.659 trillion naira as May 2025 revenue, according to the June FAC meeting. The federal government got 538 billion naira, states 578 billion naira, and local councils 420 billion naira, with 124 billion naira set aside for all producing states as 13% derivation. Gross revenue hit 2.94 trillion naira with boost from VAT, company income tax, and import duty. However, revenue from petroleum taxes, levies, and royalties fell. We head to the domestic equities market now, where we hit another record high as it crossed the 116,000 level in today's trading session. John Mekwa has the details.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Stock Market Report. Well, today's results at the market shows that really investor sentiments are driven by information and fundamentals. So after the clarification by the CBN that banks in Nigeria are still resilient in spite of the suspension of the forbearance loan, we see banks, they have recovered and investors really feasted on them. Zenith Bank, they did tell their own side of the story, and we see sentiment around Zenith Bank today really positive. Today alone, Zenith Bank gained 2 naira 50 kobo, and so we see, of course, the Fugas driving it. Access Bank gained 90 kobo, UBA gained 1 naira 80 kobo, Fidelity 35 kobo, GTCO 3 naira 50 kobo. So the Fugas have brought this great sentiment to the market. Let's look at the sectors now. We'll see more of that. So while banking is up 3.25%, consumers lost. Nigerian breweries and Honeywell lost, but oil and gas is another sector that really got attention today. Seplat gained a whole 485 naira 60 kobo. Now we know that Seplat, I said they want to look into the power sector. Perhaps that's giving investors more confidence, concerning that stock. Aradel also gained 36 naira 80 kobo. Owendo 2 naira 75 kobo. So there is it. At the close of trade today, a lot of money was added. 1.18 trillion naira. The all share is up 1.63%, and the market cap, it's 73.68 trillion naira. It's a very profitable day, and the bull wins.
Thank you, Ini. Meanwhile, in the U.S. Fed kept interest rates unchanged. But let's see their closing numbers and the other performance of major global markets. And that's business news. Is back to Ayotunde for the rest of the news at 10.
Still to come on the news at 10, Iran's supreme leader threatens irreparable harm if the U.S. intervenes militarily in the Tehran-Israeli conflict. Please join us again. Welcome back. Let's now bring you up to speed with the emergency meeting of the Niger Governors Forum. Well, amidst the growing security concerns in the country, the Progressive Governors Forum are throwing their weight behind President Bola Tinubu to address the nation's security challenges, just as it is asking state governors to protect their states through community policing. Addressing journalists in Abuja after a 3-hour meeting held behind closed doors, Chairman of the Forum and Governor of Imo State, Hope Uzodimma, says the governors are equally considering the issue of state police in line with the proposal of Governor Hyacinth Alia of Benue State. Governor Uzodimma adds that the forum will continue to support the president to enable him address the security challenges witnessed in the country.
While we were in Benue State today, first, to show solidarity to our colleague, the governor of Benue State, and condole him for that unfortunate incident. And also encourage Mr. President in his efforts to address this situation in Benue State, which continues to repeat itself. And we are satisfied with the position of Mr. President on his planned action to stop further killings and violence, not only in Benue State, but almost in every part of the country. And arising from that, we just rose from a meeting where we also discussed the state of the nation and the need for the subnational governments to take security up to the rural communities. to give the ownership of manning the communities and all the entire country to our citizens, citizenship protection. And we were in agreement that henceforth we must do everything, whatever it will take, to protect lives and property in Nigeria, which is the primary essence of government.
So let's head to our London studio, and Sami Pusi is standing by with more international news and around the world in 5.
Good evening and welcome to the Channel studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. Iran's supreme leader has warned Donald Trump of irreparable harm if the US military intervenes in Tehran's conflict with Israel. In a message read out on state television, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei said that Iran will not surrender following an earlier warning from the US president. Mr. Trump is considering joining Israel's strikes, posting the warning, "Our patience is wearing thin," and a final post that read, "Unconditional surrender." Israel hit 2 Iranian centrifuge production sites overnight, according to the UN's nuclear watchdog, while Iran says it targeted Israel with a hypersonic missile.
It's really a good question as to why the Iranians were so nonchalant about the risk of the Israelis attacking, mindful of the fact that it was so clearly signaled that there was a high risk that they would do so. I think the Iranians thought that because Trump had said he wanted talks on Sunday, the Israelis would not attack before Sunday. I think that was a very commonly held view everywhere, including amongst many U.S. allies. I think the de-escalation calls are coming from regional states because they're terrified of the consequences of a regional war and the devastation that would inflict on the entire region. It is not coming from Western states in a credible way. If you want to have de-escalation, but you start off your statements by saying that Israel has a right to defend itself, even though it started a war of aggression, then you have negated everything else you're saying in that sentence in that statement after that sentence.
The British man who was the sole survivor of last week's Air India plane crash has helped lay his brother to rest at a funeral in Western India. Vishwas Kumar Ramesh's brother AJ was also on the ill-fated flight, but did not survive the tragedy. A visibly upset Ramesh was one of the pallbearers who carried his brother's coffin to the crematorium in the town of Diu. He spent most of the past 5 days in hospital. The London-bound Boeing 7878 Dreamliner crashed seconds after taking off on Thursday from the western Indian city of Ahmedabad. At least 270 people were killed, most of them passengers. An American diplomat who was driving on the wrong side of the road when she caused a fatal car crash could and should have been arrested, that's according to a review. Motorcyclist Harry Dunn died in 2019 after being hit by a car driven by Anne Sakulas, who weeks later left the UK under diplomatic immunity laws. An independent report has criticised Northamptonshire Police's handling of the investigation, with Mr Dunn's family saying they had been failed by the very people we should have been able to trust.
In 2024,
Northamptonshire Police has apologised, saying it failed to do the very best for the victim. The controversial Kenyan televangelist Gilbert Deya, who claimed he created miraculous pregnancies, has died in a road crash. Police told local media that Deya died on the spot on Tuesday evening after his vehicle was involved in an accident with a university bus and another vehicle near the town of Kisumu in western Kenya. At least 30 other people were reportedly injured, including a person identified as his wife and a passenger in his vehicle, and 15 students in the bus. TikTok will live on for another 3 months in the United States as President Donald Trump is poised to extend a sale or ban deadline for the 3rd time since taking office this year. The popular video sharing app was supposed to be banned in the US after its Chinese owner ByteDance refused to sell it to a US buyer by a January deadline. Several flights to and from the Indonesian resort island of Bali have been cancelled or delayed after one of the country's most active volcanoes erupted. Mount Lower Toby Laki-Laki on the island of Flores spewed an ash tower more than 11 kilometres into the sky. There have not been any reports of casualties. Authorities have raised the highest alert level and advised residents to avoid activities within a 7-kilometre radius around the crater. Air India, Air New Zealand, Jetstar, Singapore Airlines and Virgin Australia were among those that have cancelled flights to and from Bali, located west of Flores. And the Fairfax County Police Department, located in the US state of Virginia, have responded to a caller who reported seeing an alligator. The reptile was located outside a motel just 20 minutes south of Washington, D.C. The owner was transporting the alligator from New York to a North Carolina zoo when it escaped.
And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the Channel studios in Lagos.
Many thanks indeed, Simon, and welcome to Sports. The Super Falcons of Nigeria will take on arch rivals Ghana in an international friendly Morocco as part of their final preparations for the Women's Cup of Nations. The fixture against the Black Queens will come after Nigeria's scheduled friendly against Portugal in Lisbon. Ghana arrived on June 17 to begin their pre-tournament camp, while the Super Falcons are expected to move to Morocco after their Portugal outing. Club football, and Phil Foden scored inside 2 minutes to set Manchester City on the way to a comfortable 2-0 win against Wydad Casablanca in their opening match at the Club World Cup earlier today. Jeremy Doku was also on target before half-time at Lincoln Financial Field in Philadelphia, where the majority of the 37,446 crowd were supporting City. With that sports, I'm Kelly. You guys back to you today.
And the main news again. President Bola Tinubu today visited Benue State, where he directed service chiefs and the Inspector General of Police, Kayode Egbetokun, to apprehend perpetrators of the recent killings in the state. And the DSS witness today told the Federal High Court in Abuja that IPOB and ESN activities led to the deaths of nearly 200 security operatives in the southeast. That's the news at 10 tonight. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Ayotunde Balogun. You have a good night.